What's up, y'all? Let's see if we can, sitting in a little bit of a not so normal area to be trying to really play guitar like this, but let's see. I want to kind of, that's what we'll do. I wanted to kind of travel up and down the neck a little bit of Frank the guitar here. Little Yamaha CGS 102A that I put a custom radius into. That is my guitar that I use on one of the thirds of our company, which is In The Image Clothing Company Music. But yes, this is In The Image Clothing Company. My name is Evan Strong, the founder. Here we have In The Image Clothing Company podcast, where we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. So let's get into a little bit of a rundown, as I do, what the company is, how clothing needs to sit on the body to do what we're going to talk about, right? And what we always do talk about. Keyword, allow the human body to work. And then we'll talk about the prerequisites. Then we'll get into the discussion as we do. This is episode 63 of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, titled Sharks and Bears. It's going to be cool. All right. So, In The Image Clothing Company is a company where we address the human body's natural function. Today is the 18th of February, 2025. The thing about the human body is, just as I said, how we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ here at the podcast. Within the gospel of Jesus Christ, we build our foundation on the rock, which is Christ himself, Jesus the Christ. Within the human body, we don't focus on the fat content, we don't focus on the muscle mass, because those things change. The amounts of them and the ways that our bodies carry those things at different times in our lives. But the skeletal system of our bodies, the foundation of our physical fleshly being that is the human being, is what always is just what it is. It has to be in the only position that it's going to work in. Every joint within the body is just two bones connecting. And those bones will only move in the motion that they have. Every joint has its own natural full ranges of motion, and it's only going to do those things. We're never going to get the human body to do anything that it's not designed by our living God to do. So, because of that though, human beings wear clothing which potentially alters the body, because there's no belief, no opinion, no yoga class to have to say that there's a center line to the human being. There's a spine that has the nervous system in it, right? Stemming from the brain, down the brainstem, through the center of the body, which is the spine, and it just then goes out through the entirety of the body, to the extremities, to the fingertips, to the toes. But there's also a sternum in the front of the body. There's also the nose in the front of the body. There is a center to the body. There's no opinion to have on that. There's also just this earth that we've been given. And the last episode from this point back of In The Image Clothing Company podcast was titled... Oh, there we go. It was titled, I was thinking, I'm like, what was it? We didn't design it. We can't decide it. And I talked about how we only have one earth that we're given. And so on that earth, gravity just does what it does, and it pulls the human being straight down to the center, to the core of the earth. And there's two sides to the body with a center in the middle. So it's just, if anything is imbalanced within clothing, being the only thing physically placed onto our physical mechanical machine that is our human being, then it's going to alter the human body. So we need the clothing to stay centered. It needs to fit correct. As I say, within the Image Clothing Company clothing, right, when it's available for you to purchase. As of today's date, it is not. I say it will stay centered, fit correct, and allow the body to work. But we can't be wearing oversized clothing if we want our bodies to be free of pain, which they naturally would just be free of pain, because they're designed to work. That's another title of one of our episodes of the Image Clothing Company podcast, Designed to Work. And it really is. That's how the body is set up, is to just function well. Otherwise, why would we be given this machine? Other than, we go through struggles to teach us things, and intentionally that's placed into our lives in the cases that it is. But, we're not just given something that's supposed to have this chronic, constant, persistent pain. But if we place something onto it that's altering the only way that it works, then it's going to just have pain. All pain is that nervous system that I was discussing that stems from, the brain, through the brain stem, out through, down through the spine and out through the body. That just goes through the body. It's a sensory system, and it just tells the body when something's wrong by giving us this experience of physical pain. That's all that means. So yeah, that means something's wrong if your body's in pain, and it shouldn't be just for like what seemed like no reason, right? But it's clothing. That is the reason. Don't believe me. I always say, don't believe me, Evan Strong. I'm just, the messenger. Don't shoot me. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. Don't shoot me. You know what I'm saying? In all seriousness, clothing needs to stay centered. It needs to actually fit us at our shoulders, and it actually needs to be at the right position on our waist. And anytime you introduce ropes to the body, shoelaces, drawstrings, you can potentially really just tweak all your body rotation-wise and everything. So because of all those things, clothing on everybody, to avoid getting into these chronic patternings across the entirety of the globe, any time period, man or woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, clothing needs to sit where our pants are entirely above our hips for the waistband of those pants that we do place onto our being. Otherwise, they're going to alter the hips and restrict their natural ranges of motion. And the angle of the waistband needs to be very slightly higher in the front than in the rear, okay? The core muscles of our core, that's what they'd be if that's what they were. They have to stay activated, and they actually always would naturally be. You don't ever have to, in a naturally functioning human body, the way that it's designed, the only way it's ever going to actually work, the core would always be naturally activated. The whole body would be activated, and I relate the human body's core to the core of an apple. You core an apple, there's nothing giving the rest of the apple life, so it's just going to wither away. People feel like their bodies are withering away. Well, if your core is ever deactivated, the rest of your body will be as well. It's the center of the whole thing from top to bottom. So that's how we're going to have that be the case while still wearing pants, is by allowing them to sit in that location. This is going to be an episode, brother, of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Episode 63, actually, is the one it's going to be. And the title of it, like I said, is Sharks and Bears. Now, the tops that we wear, the seams on top of our shoulders need to sit evenly behind. Look at the motion in my traps, brother. It's not about me. I'm just saying it's just, how the human body's going to work if it's not restricted. And if you're not seeing this, then hey, if you're an audio only, In the Image Clothing Company podcast is available in both visual plus audio and then audio only. But, you get what you get from audio only, meaning you're not going to miss out on much, really, if you're not seeing these. I'm just sitting here usually against the windowsill on the ground. But yeah, so we got these shoulders up here, those little bones on top of the shoulders. The seams that are up there need to sit evenly behind those because the shoulders naturally sit behind the body. That's why I mentioned the mobility of my traps, and I really do. I got some mobile shoulders, brother, and I don't do any kind of mobility work, but the human body just works. It's designed to have its natural ranges of motion, and I just allow mine to. Key word, allow. In the Image Clothing Company, the human body to work, right? It's not some kind of thing, bro. It's just the truth. So yeah, don't shoot me, brother. I'm just a carrier pigeon, bro. All right, so, and then the edge seams of the shoulders, they just got to sit right at the very edges. But what I was saying, and as I say, and it's not because of me, if I never said it, it'd still be the case. The traps, the upper muscles up here on top of the shoulders that just hold the shoulders off of the ground, right, without just dropping them as if you're to limp, they're meant to work. They're meant to stay activated, like the core, like the arches in the feet, like the whole body as a whole. Body. This is going to be sweet, brother. It already is. But they connect into the very rear of the base of the skull and actually on the spine as well. The cervical spine up there on the neck. Those upper traps, right? Those trapezius muscles. So yeah, you got to keep them behind the body where they just naturally are going to be. They can't be anywhere else. They cannot. No opinion of mine. It's, unfortunate that we can be so out of touch. I was as well. I'm not condemning others. It's crazy, dude. The human condition. Sinful by nature, myself included, as I just was, alluding to. So here we go. We also have 2 additional prerequisites as in the Image Clothing Company, just to further aid in no restriction to the human being, because we also do other things that are anyway, here's one of them. Shoe laces. We have a technique we use in the Image Clothing Company's shoe lacing technique, if you will. Find it where you find us. That's just the only way you're going to put a rope on top of your feet and shape it the way the human foot is shaped. There's no opinion to how it is. You can have all the ideas of what you think you want to do with shoelacing, but you're wrong. I mean, how blunt can we get? It's not that I'm right, but truth is truth. The human foot's only shaped one way. There's just bones in there that just have to connect the way they're going to connect. There's just a neutral ankle that can only be a neutral ankle if the foot's unaltered. And then from the neutral ankle, now we got a knee that's going to hinge in the way it's going to hinge. And then from that knee hinging in its correct position and location and just, tracking in line, now you got hips that are just going to sit in their natural locations, allowing both internal and external rotation. And if your femurs, which is that upper leg that's going into the hip, is just, allowed to do its natural thing, then your pelvis is going to be in its neutral position, which is very nicely posteriorly tucked. But, that's why we put the waistband of the pants where we do. But then if that happens, now your spine's just nice and neutral. So if your spine's nice and neutral, your shoulders are allowed to be in their natural position, as long as the shoulder seams of what we're wearing on our tops are just sitting in their right locations, right? So now your shoulders are in their right location and your jaw's sitting all nice and neutral. So now your jaw, which stabilizes your entire body, is just in its natural position, as if there's nothing altering it, because we're doing all we can to be very intentional about the things we place onto the human being that we've been given, right? And so now at that point, from your shoulders traveling down out to your hands, you got a neutral wrist straight out from that pinky. And now your hands are closing in line like this, rather than people having their hands all flat and open like this, and they can't even operate, and they got no mobility. I don't know. I mean, we can get into it, but I'm just speaking truth. I'm trying to give some context. I don't have opinions on this kind of stuff. So, yeah, our shoelacing technique. With that, we tie the shoes evenly over toward the inside on both feet, because there's a center. Like I said, I can't tell you something if it's not true. I can tell you all I want. Don't believe me, right? That's why I say that. Now, secondly, after our first prerequisite being shoelacing and tying, we also remove all tags from within clothing. Tags are either physically causing a gap, which is changing the position of the skeletal system, or just the slippery synthetic material or any kind of material that the body's just not going to be wanting to be against so much is going to cause those muscles where it's against to be deactivated, okay? Anything within the human body that's not working correct, something else, and many things have to compensate. The body only works as a whole. Otherwise, there's physical pain. Otherwise, there's functions in the body that aren't actually working the only way they're designed to. So we got to do everything we can do. And in some cases, we can only do to certain degrees because we got our own individualities, right? Myself included, because I am one of those, an individual. So, but that includes within the tongues of the shoes or anywhere inside of them. We got naturally gripped arches like this. The arches of the feet, they grip the ground. They grip inward like this. The feet naturally point forward or very slightly in, sometimes more than slightly. We got a lot of internal rotation, but as far as just their natural position when you're just standing or walking, they're going to go forward and slightly roll in as we do those things, okay? That's just how the human body works. It doesn't seem so in modern 2025. A lot of the time you're looking around, people's feet are sticking out. That's only half of the rotation your body has, external. But actually, where the strength of the body is closer to its own center line, internal rotation. So that's how the body would naturally work. But we're in a modern man-made world, man, and don't believe me. So there we go. Let's get into this. Sharks and bears. The reason I title it like that, brother, episode 63 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, is because those are two things that are very misunderstood, right? A lot of times people are really afraid of sharks, but how often do sharks attack people, brother? There's people that go out there and intentionally swim with sharks, and they're fine. I mean, it's very, very rare for a shark attack to happen to a human being, and it's also very, very rare for a bear attack to happen to a human being. There's your context for the rest of this on why I chose those two animals. I've mentioned how much I love bears, especially brown bears. I just do. I resonate with them, man. It's like, a lot of natives, holy cows, stutter stepped. That term reminds me of doing parkour, because I used to run up to do like a front flip, but if you don't get your footing right, we call it stutter stepped, and so you go back and try again and like get your spacing right. It's kind of how it is when you're speaking, same kind of thing. But a lot of the natives, like Native Americans, man, they got a lot of connection with animals, like a deeply rooted connection with animals, and they use all parts of the animal for what they do, man. I mean, they use the bones and the tusks and the antlers and the horns for tools and jewelry and buttons and all sorts of things. They use the hides of the animals and the skins and the furs for clothing and blankets and rugs, whatever it is they're using it for, right? To make a tent, to make a teepee. Just a type of shelter, right? Like a tent. man, dude, I mean, those Native Americans, they got a connection with those animals. And then they eat the meat, and really use all parts of the animal. They're very grateful for it. I'm vegetarian, but I've definitely eaten a lot of meat in my past, and I definitely understand, because there's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Vegetarianism. And certain parts of the world, certain locations, you can't really do agriculture the way that you can in other places. But then in other parts of the world, you pretty much don't have animals you can hunt and eat, but you can do all the agriculture that you need to be able to be sustained. So times and places. But here's the thing, dude. I connect with bears, brown bears, dude. I mean, I got like this deep-rooted soul connection with brown bears. So that's why I love them so much. I've talked about them a lot within In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Yeah, man. I love it. I love brown bears. But here's the thing, dude. You go out there, you're in the woods, and you come across a brown bear. And now a mother with a cub, that's one thing, very defensive, just like a human being, someone's trying to do something to a mother's baby, or just not, but either way, they're very just intentional about being protective over their child, because kids can't really do much on their own for the first part of life. I mean, you're like a few months old, and you're not going to do anything by yourself. You can't even roll over, So mothers, man, it's just that mothering instinct, to protect your offspring. If you're an animal, if you're a human being, whatever. And so that is different, a sow bear, a mother bear, a sow is just like a woman bear, female bear. You're protecting your baby, and a human being comes up on you, whether they're a threat to you or not, they're doing all they can to protect their child. They got to really be with that infant bear for the first year. They're basically doing most everything for them, like a human mother. And so in those cases, yeah, man, I mean, you can potentially get, I don't want to use the word attacked, but I'm going to say it, right? Because you can potentially have that bear coming after you just to eliminate any potential threats to the baby, to the bear cub. And sharks, times and places as well. I don't know so much about sharks right now. I don't live near an ocean. I've been to an ocean, but I've seen sharks in person, but I don't have a ton of knowledge on sharks, other than I know that they're very misunderstood. They're really not going to attack you. People go out there in scuba gear intentionally trying to swim with the sharks, and they're just kind of floating around in the water with the sharks, and they're swimming there. They got 10, 15, 30 sharks around them, and they're not nervous about it. I mean, there's that level of respect. If you've heard that term, don't poke the bear. Like, you don't want to go up to a bear and just like poke it, as if like you can do whatever you want to that thing and there's no kind of potential for danger, because that's a very powerful animal. And also they got to eat, I mean, if a bear is really desperate and really hungry, yeah, it's very rare for a bear to attack a human, but in that case they might, I mean, they got to eat, they've been out there for X amount of time without, enough food, because bears are herbivores, and they eat a lot of plants and berries and things, but they also eat fish. They also, they're a top predator in many ways in their environment. They can take down some, pretty much any kind of animal. There's a lot of bears, polar bears, brown bears, black bears, a lot of subspecies of brown bears, Kodiak bears, grizzly bears. Man, dude, there's this some kind of blue bear from somewhere, man. I think it's over in Europe, as far as I'm aware. I was watching this thing a few months ago, and I saw this really cool looking bear that lives up on this, really high elevation mountain. That's a cool looking little, I think they called it some kind of blue bear. It is sweet. There's a lot of bears, probably a lot more than I'm even aware of right now. Just species and types of bears. Same with sharks, though, man. You got all sorts of sharks, man. Hammerhead sharks. You got the other kind that there are, right? I don't know. Great white sharks. Man, I definitely have known about a lot more types of sharks in my past, at least. But sharks aren't something I think about that often. But the thing is, they're so misunderstood. You don't think about it that often until you feel like you're afraid of them. Until you're like all of a sudden in water that you're like, oh, are they gonna be here? Just because that they kill other fish. But I mean, so do a lot of animals. You know what I mean? A lot of animals are either herbivores or carnivores. Did I say herbivore? I did. Omnivores, right? An herbivore only eats greens, which I guess is technically what I would be in a sense. That's weird to say. And then you got omnivores, which eat both, plants and meat, right? And then you got carnivores, which pretty much just eat meat. So no, bears are they eat both, right? Plants and animals are omnivores. I said herbivore earlier. That was not quite correct, brother. But you know what? Perfect example, brother. Except it's not perfect. There's no such thing. But that's exactly what I'm saying. Is I'm sinful by nature. I'm messing up. I'm not saying things perfect. Never will I be. But you got these animals, man, and they're just doing what they do. That's the thing, is a bear is just what it is, and it's just doing what it's doing. It's not trying to be extra aggressive to try to prove a point to you, try to make you think it's something. It's just out there, whether you are or not. It's just what it is. Same with the shark. Whether you decide to put on your scuba gear and go drop out off the edge of a boat, you just sit there on the edge of the boat as they do, and they lean back and fall into the water, and all of a sudden they're in a whole different world, man. Human beings are in air, not water, most commonly. But the sharks are in water, not air, most commonly, right? The bears are in the woods, most commonly, and a lot of people are sitting in their man-made cities, right? So the thing is, these animals are just what they are, but a lot of people have a misunderstood view toward them, thinking they're just like out to kill everything they could possibly get their hands on. No, they just gotta eat when they gotta eat. If they're not hungry and they're not threatened, they're probably not gonna care. I mean, in most every case, with brown bears specifically, because I know that to be the case. But yeah, most all bears. I just can't speak for every single bear. I can't speak for every single human. You got like the categories of humans, and we're gonna get into this. I'm leading up to a lot of stuff. This in itself is the discussion, but we're also gonna relate this to human beings in the way that I do. It's gonna be really cool. But you got certain people, and for the most part, they're not gonna mess with you, man. They're gonna just leave you alone. But certain times and places, certain occasions, maybe they're a little bit more agitated than normal. Maybe you've done something to kind of agitate them, and whatever. But for the most part, pretty much every bear you're going to come in contact with, pretty much every species of bears. I mean, like I'm saying, I can't speak for everything. I can't really speak for anything besides myself. And even that, I don't know what's going on with my own being most of the time. That's real. But they're going to leave you alone. You go out there in the woods and you come up on a bear, you talk to that bear, You got to approach different species of bears in different ways. But, like a brown bear, you go up to it and you talk to it. You just kind of like, hey, bear, hey, make yourself known. Talk to the bear. Let it know you're there, but you don't want to be poking it. Talk to it from a distance. Let it know, like, look, hey, let it know you're a human being, basically, right? Let it know what you are. Give it some context. A lot of times we're just lacking context in life. We jump to conclusions, man. Getting a little bit sore ankled. Getting some shin splints out there, jumping to conclusions, brother. I'm serious. Oh, that's awesome. I mean it, dude, but because that's the thing, is the bear's just doing its thing, and it's not so interested in human beings. It's not wanting to attack you. It's like, oh, that's something I'm not really so sure of what it really is. I'll let it do its thing as long as it's not gonna hurt me, right? A lot of times we think the bears are something we should be afraid of, but really the bears are afraid of us for the most part. They don't know what a human being is. Most all bears, well, in certain places, some bears probably see a lot of humans actually throughout their life, but there's certain places bears will go their entire life never seeing a human being. Just like the human beings go a lot of times their entire life without seeing a bear. A lot of human beings do that, right? But then there's other ones who are around them a lot, right? It's on both ends. You got to give some context, some understanding, some perspective, right? The things we're lacking a lot of the times when we're out there trying to massage our knees out, bro, with that chondromalacia patella. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it's so ridiculous. That's awesome. No, I mean it though. Stop jumping to conclusions. We gotta have some understanding, if we can, right? If we don't know what we don't know. We can't be held accountable for what we don't know. But that's what I'm trying to do right now, is give a little bit of understanding to people on the things that I know, right? So, you let that bear know what you are, though. You kind of talk to the bear. Keep yourself pretty. You don't want to try to be like, alpha dog necessarily, but you're just like letting him know, like, you're just there, you're just what you are, you're a human being. It's hearing the sound of your voice. It's like, you don't sound like a caribou. The bear's like, you don't sound like a salmon, right? You don't sound like that bush of blueberries that I was munching on this afternoon. I don't know what you are really, and I'm fine with letting you be over there doing your thing if you let me be doing my thing. And then, give the bear its distance. If you let a bear walk away, if you give the bear a chance, in almost every case, right? I mean, again, species of bears react differently. They're a little bit more territorial in some cases, a little more aggressive in some cases, a little bit more educated about human beings in some cases, like I'm saying. Some of them never seen a human being in their life, right? But in most cases, you give a bear this chance, they're going to walk away. They're not going to care about you. I mean, they're kind of interested. Bears are really curious. Bears, in a lot of ways, are almost like cats, actually. They're really curious. And so when bears, like, break into cabins and stuff, right? When they're, you come back to your cabin that you've got up in the woods and it's just been rummaged through by a bear, bears are they're really curious. You leave your cat home alone and all of a sudden your fish, when you come back home, are sitting on the coffee table instead of in the tank, right? But they're not trying to be killers. They're just like, oh, what is this thing moving around? And they're interested in it. And so, yeah, sharks are very similar in that way, right? Sharks are very smart. But that's usually how, pretty top alpha predators like that is they're really smart. Bears are really smart and curious. Sharks are really curious a lot of times, man, and playful in those ways. You got to understand it, right? That's, again, where that context, that understanding comes in. These animals are something you got to be very much respecting toward. You got to respect these things for what they are. I mean, a bear, no second thought, one swipe at the paw literally will decapitate a human being. That's real. I mean, these things are tough, strong, big, up to 1,000 plus, pounds. Yeah, well over 1,000 pounds in certain cases. I mean, you get some polar bears, some Kodiak brown bears. These are big animals, dude. Seriously, that's not a joke. One swipe of their paw, which is like this big, right? Like a foot tall in some cases, like big old, well, probably even bigger than a foot tall, big old paws, man. And some of these bears, they can one swipe of that thing across like the side of your head, like you're slapboxing some kid in junior high, you know what I'm saying? They take your head off like that, no joke, right? And they can bite through just about anything with their teeth. And just the sheer weight of the animal itself, that thing just gets on top of you and it'll crush your rib cage. I'm painting a picture on both ends because this is just how it is, right? You got to understand and respect it for what it is, but also know that it's not out there to get you. It's just doing its thing, and it wants to be left alone as much as you want to be left alone. That's really the case. So yeah, like I said, I mean, you give a bear the chance, he's gonna walk away. Give him the space. Make sure he knows who you are and what you are. You're a human being. You're not something that he really even cares to, try to mess with in any kind of way. Times and places, though. I mean, yeah, you might get attacked. So there's always the potential. I mean, it's just an animal that needs to eat, and you're just a kind of an animal, right? Human beings in the physical sense are kind of just like animals, right? I mean, we're different. We really are, but in ways, I mean, you got flesh. He's hungry. He could eat you. Really. But the thing is, we don't need to be misunderstanding thinking they're just out to get us. Just like the sharks. Some people, they see a shark in the water and they're like screaming and climbing the mast of the ship, you know what I mean? Trying to get as far out of the water as they can. Another person sees a shark and they like hurry and throw their shoes off and jump in the water to be with it, and each person's just as safe in most all cases. So same with the bears in anywhere the bears are at, Some people do everything they can, they got bear spray, a handgun on their hip, a rifle on their back, and then like 3 dogs with them to hopefully scare off all the bears. And then some other people, they go out there with cameras and film crews and spend their life living with bears for a big portion of their life, Some of these beautiful shows that people have filmed, documentaries and just, photographs and video footage of bears. People will go out there when bears are just like, taking advantage of the salmon run, when salmon are just, swimming, doing their migration from where they do to where they do, right? Animals migrate throughout the year, like birds flying south for the winter. As the seasons change, animals need to be able to have the resources that they need and be able to, lay their eggs or have their offspring or whatever, And so the salmon will migrate and the bears will come and they'll eat the salmon as they're migrating through the river, right? The bears know, man. I mean, they're smart. Well, I mean, also nature just does what it does. And yeah, everything's just got a balance, got a cycle. Like I was saying, that's what we said in the episode of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast 62, titled "We Didn't Design It, We Can't Decide It." Talks a lot about just the natural balance of the earth and nature if human beings were never here at all. And so The bears, man, sometimes, you've got these film crews and they're surrounded by 15, 20 big old brown bears. But the bears are just there for the salmon. They don't care about the people. So these people are like within feet of bears, like, 10, 20 feet. There's a bear just coming up to them, kind of just like sniffing at them. But then again, the human being's just like, hey, I don't want any trouble. You're fine. Do your thing. I'm doing mine. And the bear will just kind of turn away and just go keep hunting the fish. Hunting the fish is easy for bears on a salmon run. They just reach in the water and they're right there. You got thousands of salmon, maybe millions, but like in just a small location, you got thousands of salmon right there. The bears, all they got to really do is just grab one out of the water, and they're really good at it. And so it's beautiful, man, to be able to just watch this kind of stuff from like my house, right? I'm sitting here in the United States of America, the state of Utah, and I'm able to watch bears from like any part of the earth because I got a television and somebody's gone out there and filmed them. I mean, that's amazing. That's such an amazing gift. That's why I call it the gift of video and things that I do as well. I mean, I'm so appreciative and grateful to be able to just document things through video. But yeah, these film crews, they're not nervous. There's like that, like I was saying, that level of respect, but it's not like a nervousness. It's just like you understand what this thing really is. Like, yeah, if that bear wanted to, it'd totally just take you out with no second thought. But that's not what he's there to do. He doesn't want to do that unless, a certain specific occasion or situation comes up, right? So you just, having that understanding of what these animals really are, and they're not a threat to you, right? So here's the thing. A lot of human beings misunderstand a lot of other human beings, and they treat them like a bear, or they treat them like a shark. But the way that people who are misunderstanding toward what those animals really are treat those animals. People who come in it with their first reaction being fear, right? Defense, higher level of defense than they actually need, because we don't really need to like be so defensive about the fact that like we just turned, around this switchback on our hike and there's a bear. It's not some kind of defense, but it's just like again, an understanding of really how am I going to navigate this, letting that thing do what that thing is, and me continuing to be what I am, That's just how it is. Same with sharks, I mean, you're swimming in the water there, shark comes up, you're not just going to like swim away as fast as you can, because that's not going to help you at all. Sharks are way faster than a human being in the water, What you're going to do is just understand how to interact with that creature without trying to get it to be something it's not, because you're not going to change it, right? So this is how it is with human to human, man. In a lot of ways, I feel like a bear. Like I was saying, I very much resonate with brown bears. And for this reason is one of the main ones, truly. A lot of people probably, I'm not going to say the word probably. I know a lot of people think I'm like this, I get misunderstood. I'm going to say that, right? And I get it. We talk about within the gospel of Jesus Christ, disciples of Jesus Christ are a strange and peculiar people. And you see that. You look around at Christians, people who are really trying to do all that they really can do to be a follower, a disciple of Jesus Christ. They live weird lives, man, and that's me. I'm one of them is what I mean. There's many of us out there, man, and, I get very misunderstood, and I have my entire life, and so people think that I'm trying to be this or that when I'm just being me, and people are thinking that they gotta like defend themselves against me, and I'm like, I'm not a threat to you at all. It's like a bear, you walk up in the woods and you're trying to like, you see a bear and all of a sudden you pull out your rifle and you're like, you stay back, and the bear's like, what? I'm just like in my backyard, right? I mean, like, the bear's like, what are you doing? You stepped onto my property. The bear's just hanging out in the woods where he lives, and you've gone into his house and like pulled a gun on him, basically. And that's seriously how this is, bro. And so that's what happens, dude, with human being to human being. I'm just doing my thing, and a lot of times people are like a little bit thinking I should be doing something they want me to do, and I'm like, no, calm down and or walk away, right? like interacting with a bear. You either just stay there calmly and just you can chill like that camera crew and just hang out and watch the bear and film the bear. The bear's not gonna really care as long as he's still just being allowed to do what he's gonna do. Or right, an interaction, you walk up on a bear you weren't really trying to, you didn't have that be like the plan or intention, and then you just walk away when you see him. Let him know you're there and walk away. So that's how it is, human to human, man. I mean, I feel like that bear, a lot of times I'm getting misunderstood. Like, I'm just out here eating my salmon. I'm vegetarian, but you know what I'm saying? Like, and then people walk up and all of a sudden pulling a gun on me. I haven't had that happen, but, could, might. Still got X amount of years on this earth, unless it's only X amount of minutes. Like I say, I mean, I could die before this podcast episode finishes. I'm sitting here conked out until the storage space fills up or the battery dies, and you know, what's the cause of death? Well, I don't know. He was sitting there talking about bears and sharks. He fell over. I mean, how real do you want to get? It's so cool, dude. I love that. But yeah, man. I mean, anything could happen. The point being, though, it's like you got to realize people are just what they are. We're not gonna change them. You're not gonna go up to that bear and just be like, "Hey, I know that I just came into your environment and you're just sitting in the woods doing the thing that you'd be doing whether I was here or not. But I'm gonna pull a gun on you and make you do what I think you should be doing and act how I think you should. Otherwise, you better watch out because, that's how people treat other people, dude. That's how people treat me, man. I'm not trying to complain, but it's definitely happened, and it definitely has happened way, way, way more than just like one event that I'm worked up over. No, it's like because I am something this see, I am something, right? I understand, dude. I'm a little bit of an interesting human being, man. Sometimes you're walking up on me like I don't know how to navigate this thing. So should I have my hand on my hip, right? Get ready to pull that gun out of the holster. What I also love about this episode is a lot of people got a lot of views on what guns are, and it's just like the bear. I mean, it's something that, yeah, in certain times and places can be very dangerous. But in other times, you just let it be what it is. It's just what it is. So, got to see things as they are, man, to the best of what we can. We're all, human beings. Can we see that? I love it. I love this so much. But yeah, in all seriousness, we gotta let people be what they are, dude. And understand that they're not out to get us. I think that's another thing is some people just go their whole life and they assign that meaning to things, that everything's out to get them, and it's not. And so you live in your life within fear that you don't have to have, right? I mean, if I were to walk out there in the woods and I saw a bear, knowing what I know about bears, and I still don't know all that much about bears, if I'm being real about it. I just genuinely appreciate them for what they are. But that's enough to really just understand that, hey, if I let you be, you're probably going to just be. I mean, even if it's whatever it is. I mean, some animals are pretty crazy, man. You get a pack of wolves on you, and they're just, you hear that word ravaging wolves. Well, that's in the scriptures, man. Yeah. Wolves can be nuts, dude. But there's certain animals like that are just kind of like, just like, no matter what, they're pretty much ready to kill. A bear's not that way. But also, a bear, like I said, is an omnivore. I mean, it doesn't get to kill an animal if it finds a beehive in a tree, it's got some honey. For real, I think that's something that might seem kind of like stereotypical bear, but that's really, bears really do eat honey, right? There's bees out in the woods making honey hives, and bears like to eat that. It happens. That's why it's like a stereotype thing. It's not just, something we see in TV shows. We see it there because that's really what it is, you know? But yeah, man, you see a bear just sitting there being kind with its little cub, or you see it um, playing out in the plains or, just climbing trees or whatever. And you realize that there's so many sides to a bear. It's not just something that's got these big old teeth and is so big and strong and it's going to, potentially kill you. Yeah, that's one of the sides of the bear for sure. But also the bear is a very playful, curious, fun, loving, family-centered creature, right? It really is. And so having that understanding of, you see one side to a bear, you watch these, TV shows or movies people have made and they portray bears as something that's just ripping everything apart and killing everything in sight. But then you also get to watch those beautiful documentaries of people filming bears just tending to their family. You got this mother sow bear with 2 cubs and she's just really, really, really nurturing those cubs, There's sides to things, and things are just what they are, man. And so if we approach some people that we don't quite understand, they could very potentially be threatening to certain ways. And in certain ways, yeah, man, people could be very threatening to other people. Definitely. People could be very dangerous, People get a little over emotional about something. People are going through something they don't know how to navigate or how to handle. Um, People are, maybe doing substances that were commanded not to do for, whatever reasons they are, coping mechanisms, or they got into something, they got pressured into it. They don't know what else to do, or it's a habit, it's some kind of thing, whatever. We all get into the things we get into, man. And in those cases, those people are acting out of, behaviors and ways of being that they wouldn't normally. That's not actually natural to them, You got all sorts of things on any end of whatever, And so, again, you approach it with that little bit of caution, but not with like defense, as if like it's out to get me, I mean, no, everything though, approach with caution. Like, I mean, anything could be a potential threat, but it also could be a potential life-saving thing as well. I mean, a bear could save your life. You think about that, or a shark. I mean, in certain cases, they could either like give you a warning of a certain thing just by watching their behavior, or, like I was out on a hike the other day, man, and I um noticed the wind started picking up just a little bit, but then all the birds, man, they started moving, they started tweeting and making the bird sounds they do, and all of a sudden, dude, the wind picked up. It started snowing on me pretty good. It was pretty cold, Utah. We get snow, we get cold winters, and it's the date that it is, it's still winter here. And so I was on the side of the mountain, and all of a sudden it's snowing pretty hard on me, man. And I wasn't very high up there from where I parked the car that I took up to start the hike, and so I got down just fine. But I was in some snow, and it was getting on me, and it was something I wasn't expecting. But that's the thing, I mean, things just what they are. Oh, what I was saying though is, yeah, that's what I was saying. The birds let me know, The birds kind of gave me a warning. They're all flying off. They know the storm's coming. Birds are out there in the mountains often, right? Some birds probably spend most of their entire life just in a mountainous environment. So they know how to navigate this. They know how to read the signs of the times, if you will, Same with a bear, man. A bear in any kind of way like that, it could let you know. All of a sudden, like, you're walking through a riverbed, let's say, and it's dry. But then, you know, there's all of a sudden this gush of water that's coming down, and you could just get killed from the water just out of nowhere. But there's a bear kind of pretty near you, right? And you guys are kind of letting each other do each other's thing, without interfering or without trying to change it. That's a big thing, right? Without interfering and without trying to change it, just letting each other do the things that you're gonna do, right? That's how we got to approach each other as human beings. Please, right? I mean, that's what we're commanded to do, really, truly. The golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated. That bear just wants to be left alone to do the thing it's going to do, whether you, being a human being, has come into its environment or not. And you're just up there going on like a hike or whatever, going camping, you're doing whatever you're doing. You just want to be able to do that thing without having that bear get in your way of just, as long as you guys are, giving each other the respected space and stuff that you deserve, really, truly, I mean, serious. And so, but the thing is, right, you're in that dry riverbed, just kind of walking through the river. Maybe you're looking around at things in the water, trying to find maybe like some fossils or whatever, or you're just, hanging out, seeing the environment. And the bear's over there on the shore, and all of a sudden the bear can sense like through the ground or whatever it is that the bear senses, it notices the water's coming down, and the bear starts to like react a little bit, get a little agitated, and maybe just kind of get away from the river, and it gives you a warning, and then you get out of that riverbed, man, or else all of a sudden you die, drown in that river, man. Water's a dangerous thing. That's the other thing, we got to just respect things as what they are, but then also let them be just what they are. I mean, water, you're not going to live as a human being without water in your being. We talked about hydration, and water alone isn't going to hydrate you. Water just allows the body to have the functions it does, but the water is actually, or the human body is actually made up of a majority water. And that's kind of weird to think about when we look at the body as what it is. It's like water is this like liquid, and the body is this mechanical, fleshly machine, with a skeletal structural system, But the water is actually, oh my goodness, I said that twice. The human being's actually majority water. I think it's like 72% water. Is that? If I'm wrong about that, then I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. I just remember back in like elementary school, we talked about that a lot. I'm like, wow. I haven't really thought about it much since, but I think that's the case. Somewhere around that number. But I'm gonna cough, bro. Hold on. But yeah, the thing is, water Your body has to have it for the functions it does, but then at the same time, water can kill you easily. You drink too much water, you drown from the inside out, right? By doing the exact same thing you'd be doing to benefit your body, just keeping it with the amount of water that it has. Again, hydration and just drinking water are two separate things, by the way. We talk about that within In the Image Clothing Company podcast and just all the things we do under In the Image Clothing Company. I mean, we talk about, right, sleeping naturally, standing naturally, walking naturally, eating naturally, all the things we do as a human being. It's not just about clothing, bro, definitely. It's allowing, keyword, the human body to work and everything that we do as a physical being on this earth. But here's the thing, man, is, water, yeah, it sustains you, and you have to have it to live internally. You got to have a certain level of water just be regulated within your body, and that's how your body's going to just live. But then at the same time, water can very well kill you, you know? Just the sheer force of water can, it's like a punch to you, You're sitting there in that dry riverbed, that water comes so fast and hits you, it knock you out. But then also, man, my throat. Like I'm saying, you drink too much water, you can drown. You go out there and get fully submerged in water, you could drown. You need air to breathe as a human being as well, right? Everything's just got its roles and got its balance. So that's what I'm saying. A bear and a shark, they just got their roles, and they're causing a balance in the ecosystem they're in. But you go up to a bear and try to make it be something it isn't. And now, the role that it has, you've tried to change, and it's changed the balance of that ecosystem, right? Like I mentioned in episode 62, the last one of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. We didn't design it, we can't decide it. I talked about how there used to be a type of brown bear in Utah, the state of Utah, United States of America. And it was somewhere around 100 years ago, they got fully killed off by human beings. And all things just create a balance in what they're in. So within human beings, man, and within relational things between person to person, there's a balance. Like you go to some kind of place and you're all working together doing something, you need a leader. You need like the people who are doing kind of like the grunt work, if you will, right? All these it's like an ant farm, within the ant farm, there's the queen ant, right? Or like a beehive. There's the queen bee, but then there's all the other worker bees. There's the ants that do this and that. There's the carpenter ants. It's like a type of ant, they're working on trees. They're using parts of trees to build other things. Ants are digging tunnels in the ground and making this whole system work. Within human beings, man, that's how it is. You've got people playing their roles. We talk about that within In the Image Clothing Company quite a bit. And already we have, is what I mean, up until today's date. Past episodes, human beings play their roles. We're placed here with certain roles to play. And that's how it is. You go to a place and you're trying to get something done. Like I was saying, a big project, you've got a leader on the project. You've got the creative minds. You've got, the overseers of this and that. And then you got the people working on this part of that thing and those part of this thing. If you're doing projects like that, in certain ways and to degrees, you can't be doing all that kind of stuff alone. Like I say, within In the Image Clothing Company, we're going to have a team. Up until today's date, it's still just me, little old Evan Strong. But we're going to get really big. I'm not trying to say something, but it's the case. I know it. Just because we speak truths. I'm going to sit on that for a second, right? But here's the thing, man. Eternal, unchanging truths, brother. But we're sinful by nature. I mess up, always will. So will everybody at the team, by the way. Y'all putting kind of, if anybody's ever trying to critique people at the team as it grows, no matter who I bring on or what, we're all human beings, dude. So if somebody's saying something that's not quite correct, hey, I'm always saying stuff at certain times in certain places that's not quite correct, okay? So give people some leniency, brother. But here's the thing. Yeah, please, right? In the Image Clothing Company's team, as it builds and as it grows, and as we bring people new on. I mean, that's the thing. You're new in a certain way or at a certain time, and you got to have some leniency, man, given to you by others. You got to be given leniency to others. You just have to. We're all human beings. Trying to make someone else be perfect, and you just, it's just because you wish that you could be in those cases, and none of us can be. So anyway, we all play our roles, man, and a lot of times these people that a lot of other people look at the way that they look at a bear with misunderstanding or a shark with misunderstanding, they're a little bit afraid of them, but they don't have the understanding that this person is playing their roles. If we lived in this earth, man, and we didn't have these people who are so bold like me, that sometimes I get labeled as this person who's like a little bit scary or something, or oh, he's overstepping, or oh, he said something I don't like, or oh, is he gonna hurt me? Even though I am not in any way like threatening, nor would I ever want to have any intention to hurt anybody, but I'm misunderstood. I'm like that bear, dude. I'm just doing my thing, bro. Leave me alone. I mean, how many times I say that? There's episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled stuff like that. Like, leave me alone. I'm pretty sure there's one titled that, dude. That's how I feel, I like to be left alone, dude. I like to just do my thing. I don't like to be around people that much, man, until I do. But in all seriousness, I like to be alone, and I like to just, be respected to be able to do my thing. If you don't understand me, cool, right? But it's not up to you. Truly, man. The only thing that's up to you is to have that understanding, to develop it if you don't currently have it, of the bear or of the shark or of the Evan Strong, or people like me who are just a little bit more bold than you might be used to, a little bit seemingly overbearing, but really I'm not. It's just that, like, I'm gonna scream at you if you're in my face, right? You walk up on a bear, dude, he'll let you know. Get out of here, he's saying. That's how I feel sometimes. Like, I'm just saying, please leave me alone, right? But a lot of people think that I'm trying to attack them. No, I'm trying to defend myself or my cubs, right? That's what it's about. That's really how it is. But if you're being misunderstanding, you might see it in a different way than it's actually being. So, anyway, yeah, we play our roles, and I'm one of those people who, I might seem like I'm a little bit much to some people. But the other thing is, a lot of people just like, yeah. A lot of people think that there's not roles that people play, and a lot of people want everybody to be so cookie cutter. But you can't have that bear act like a snowshoe hare, right? Or like a little cottontail rabbit, right? A jackrabbit. You can't have that hare or that rabbit be acting like a the other way around. That bear's not gonna be able to act like a rabbit and play the role it's gonna play, right? I mean, the bear is just what it is. And so you got to understand that and just let it be that. And so anytime people got a problem with me, dude, stick around, right? You got a problem with a bear? Study it a little bit. Learn what it really is, not what you're thinking it is, because it's only what it is. Just because you think it's something doesn't mean that it's ever going to change, because it's not because of you. It's just what it is. I'm just who I am, brother. Not only am I just who I am, but I didn't decide who I am. None of us did. That bear didn't just, like, at birth decide, I don't know, am I going to be born as a mallard duck? Or am I going to be born as a moose? I think I'll pick a bear. I mean, bears are just bears, dude. Right? Evan Strong is just who he is, dude. Let me be, please. Leave me alone. I mean it. I really beat it. My nose, dude. A little bit stuffo for a second there. But yeah. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to wrap this up. Yeah, because I told you. So, in the Image Clothing Company podcast, that's where we're at currently. But we are, as we say in our name, the last two words in the name of 5 of them as a whole, in the Image Clothing Company. We are a clothing company, right? And so we will have clothing available made out of 100% natural materials, staying centered, fitting correct, allowing the body to work. But purchase it in your size, right? If you ever decide to purchase in the Image Clothing Company clothing, which you don't have to. You don't have to. I mean, we get free modifications on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company for clothing that you can purchase from anybody, right? But no matter who you're purchasing it from, you got to do what you got to do, right? Ideally, no give within clothing, 100% natural materials because the body's natural. Keep it fitting where I discussed the clothing has to sit, just because that's how the skeletal system works. I didn't decide it, right? I didn't decide it. I can't tell you something. I didn't design it. I can't decide it. I love that. I love that so much. Episode 62, the last one of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. That's the title. But yeah, because I didn't decide any of this kind of stuff, right? So none of it. I mean, none of the stuff we talked about within the Image Clothing Company. We're just speaking it as it is. We're just giving truth. So, but yeah, we'll have clothing available if you want to purchase it, and that'd be great. If you want to, when it comes, right? Yeah. So, like I said, today's the 18th of February 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of this here company, In The Image Clothing Company. So, yeah. Thank you.